Thus begins Power Tour 2022 here. We got a 9-hour drive heading down. Little father and son trip with my dad. He just retired after working for 30 some odd years. And we haven't done anything like this for probably 10 years or so. So it should be a lot of fun. Made some modifications to the Maverick to handle the 95-degree heat down south, which you'll see, it's going to be an adventure and a battle the whole way. We're really putting the Maverick to the test and putting the stress and strain to it. So we'll see what happens. We about burn it down on just the way down to the starting line, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll just see if we can make it through it. It's going to be an adventure one way or another, I can already tell. All right, so my dad and I, behind the camera there, on Hot Rod Power Tour 2022. And so everyone gave me a hard time about not having a shroud on this car, so I did attempt to make one. And to your guys' credit, driving the car around in town, it was notably better, but the design was probably sub-ideal at best. I get you to come in here. It's on right now. You saw earlier there from that clip that it's running pretty hot going down the road, and the air's just coming in, hitting a wall. I'll shut the fans down here quick, but in town, that does great. This is an inline 6 radiator, so big, high compression V8, not really a good match. So anyway, what I do know from Power Tour last year is that basically it was just this radiator with this fan mounted right to the radiator itself. And that really, it made it, but just barely. It was just barely able to cool enough. And then if I got stuck in a line for too long, I definitely had to shut it down. It would have had a runaway temp scenario. So this would fix that. But at the moment, on the highway, we're having issues. So I'm going to pull it off for now to get down there. We got 5 hours yet to drive. But I'm thinking we might have to get creative about some on-demand flow control here on this shroud if we want it to work, which is going to be sad because it'll look less and less like a stop sign. But you got to do what you got to do on Power Tour. Kind of a tighter fit than one would think. There we go. All right. So again, probably need to do something here for the highway, maybe some flaps that the airflow would hold open or something, but for now, going back to the radiator mounted through the fan, or what I'm trying to say, it's 95 degrees out here. All right, so Dad's tracing out the outline here since while we're going down the road, think of some modifications. Now it is Saturday and Power Tour starts Monday. So this is kind of like, you do the shakedown run where if you can give yourself an extra day, you do, because you'll find something that doesn't work in the environment, or, you change around your whole car right before you went on Power Tour and you get in these situations. So I'm sure we'll think of something to do, but, just getting the outline before, once the fan's mounted on, well, then it's like a whole bunch of extra work. So I'm curious to see what side of the road thing we do come up with for this, because we definitely are going to need that when we're down south, when we're sitting stuck in traffic. The most wrong thing that you can ever do to a radiator, if you want to puncture a core, this is definitely what you would want to do. So, never a fan of doing this, but it is how it was for a couple years I had it, and other than, luckily I live in Iowa where I don't get stuck in town traffic too much, for more than 10 minutes at a time. So it's never been a problem where I need a shroud. But I don't know. Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Definitely would never recommend doing what's going on here. Bad. All right, fans on. On. Hopefully we cooled a little bit. Again, the caveat to this is that sitting in traffic, not going to be good, but the rest of our trip down the road, we ought to be okay. This is called procrastinating your problems and putting it off till a later date. As long as we don't sit around for too terribly long, we'll be all right. Hopefully. Alright, so my dad and I did end up making it to Memphis. You see we're at our friendly neighborhood Walmart, and you know, you just know you're in a good spot when you got these mobile police things with cameras all around them. Anyway, all that aside, the radiator held up just barely, you know. Oh boy, going up a hill, you know, at 95 degrees out, it might creep up to 205, and if I were to hammer on it, it would just keep going. Then I was able to kind of save it by putting it in neutral, going down the other side of the hill and holding it like 2,000 RPM to cycle some coolant, and then it would cool back down. So today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and drain the contents of the radiator. It's a 50-50 mix, maybe even stronger because of, you know, Iowa things. And so I'm gonna refill it with water, and then I've always wanted to try the water wetter stuff or whatever. There's a lot of different types. Largely, it just alters the surface tension of the water and allows for better heat transmission from the water to other things, from the block to the water to the radiator, the water to the fourth dimension. I don't know, whatever. Supposedly it's better. A lot of people swear by it. It's circle track guys, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Hopefully it works, because I'd really like to put my shroud back on, so I'm gonna need that in town. But with that, get back to, I let Dad sleep in, get back to the hotel, and get everything straightened out. The honorary hit a stoplight under a bridge rev. Oh, and just like that, we made a fool of ourselves. Naturally. All right, back to the hotel to get all this done. All right, so in the process of draining the radiator, naturally it hits everything before it gets, you know, to the ground. So catching most of it, and then I don't know, it's putting a lot on the ground, and unfortunately it's running towards the other cars that were parked beside, which, you know, that's definitely the way to make friends. That's probably a stronger mixture than 50-50 in there, just from the looks of it. So I remember at one point I put water in this radiator, and then I'm remembering in the spring, in the fall, I got kind of worried that it wasn't going to handle freezing. And so I think I poured straight concentrate in here, and quite a bit of it. So unsurprisingly, it should be a lot better with, I don't know, anything other than what was in there before. All right, so looking at the bottle, it looks like with 50-50, you know, on some dyno testing here, which, you know, marketing is what it is, but supposedly the engine that ran at 230 degrees with water and supercoolant ran at 189. And so we're going to fill this bad boy with distilled water. You can always get this from the, it's like $1 from the infant section or something at Walmart. You always look kind of like a weirdo carrying that around, but it is what it is. And hopefully the combination of these two things will keep her a little less hot under the collar. We'll see. So I don't know how I feel about that marketing claim, considering, you know, that's like 40 degrees difference, maybe, perhaps. I'll just be happy with like 10 or 15 degrees, maybe even 5 degrees. Anything we can get, we'll take. You know, it runs at like 205 going up the hills and the mountains. And if we could just run it like just under that, because just over 200 it starts spark knocking and pinging, you know, so it's just one of them deals. So one trick when you're filling a radiator, especially if you have an engine that hasn't been filled before or whatever, it's always a good idea. I forgot to mention this beforehand, but before you start filling it, you pop a line. Then it can kind of purge the air, you know, and that way you don't have a big air bubble, where if we filled it and ran it and we didn't do that, it would eventually get the coolant in there, and then our radiator would be lower. And that's why guys always say they have to keep filling the radiator and babysitting it. You know, you really don't. If you purge the air out, and then while you're filling it, as soon as you see water coming out up here, or coolant, which we see at this point, you know, we know that we have purged all the air bubbles out of the top, at least within a realm of reasonability that it's okay to run the vehicle at that point. So our magic snake oil, which I 1000% don't believe works, but all right, so we got the water all in everything here, and I'm just idling it for a while. It's already 95 degrees here, so should be pretty telltale. Again, this is a pretty unsavory way to mount a radiator fan, where it's only cooling in that area where the fan is. You know, out here when we're just sitting at idle, that radiator's not doing a whole lot of nothing. So anyway, if it can kind of do better here, sitting at idle in the temp, I'd be pretty encouraged. So far, it's actually seeming like it's doing pretty okay, but time will tell, and I'm kind of cheating probably with the hood open at the moment. All right, it's been like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes idling with the hood closed, 95 degrees, doing pretty good. I've even held it at some RPM just to try and, you know, put some extra heat into the thing. And it's really not moving around too much, staying around the 160 mark. I'm sure you're wondering why I have this in my car. Someone threw this in my window way back in like 2017 in my Fox body, and he's been my good luck charm ever since. So I've always just done the unthinkable with completely garbage cars like this ever since I've had it. So I thought, superstition prevails, I'm gonna keep it around. Yeah, I don't know. Got a little temp from throttle snapping it around a little bit, but it's staying right around 160, which is pretty amazing. All right, so I don't want to speak too soon, but so far it seems to be doing really good. Good enough that I thought, well, I might as well try and throw the shroud back on it, because I know I can handle stop and go traffic, but the question is if I can handle on the road. So I put it on, did a few interstate tests, and you know, it's 90 degrees here right now, and it's hanging with it, doing pretty good. I even got on someone's tail, so it kind of hindered airflow quite a bit, and it went up about 5 degrees, and that's about it. So just show you again here what we got going on, but I think we have it all figured out and we're all ready for the beginning of Power Tour. All right, again, just by dumping the radiator and putting some of that water, wetter, whatever, changes the surface tension of the water, goings on some science, and we're good to go. You know, I'm still not taking off the docket, cutting some holes in the shroud with some rubber flappers, but I mean, look at it. It looks so nice, like a stop sign. I just hate to do that at the moment. I just like the way it looks, you know. So apparently aesthetics are becoming before functionality, but everything is good, and I think we're good to go.